Okay, so this is a a video to accompany my advanced multimedia in humanities website, which was dealing with the fiction to film module, and this is specifically on Into the Wild, which is what I did my adaptation essay on, and this is specifically on the movie production of the film, which was directed by Sean Penn. It was released in 2007. It was based on Chris McCandless, who was played by Emil Hirschnick. And what you call it, this video will detail the kind of the differences in Chris's character from this movie's characterization of him and the biography's characterization of him. And that's perhaps the most important thing which was involved in you know, the writing of my essay. So in this movie, it begins with a flash forward to Chris McCandless's death at the bus, which is where we end, his story in the biography, which is presented in chronological order. This is not. So it begins with that, shows us there with him living at the bus for a while, and then it cuts back to like, how did he get here? How did he get living remote? And it shows us his family, his father, his mother, and his sister, and him graduating from college and giving them no indication that he was going to one day, you know, disappear, which isn't true from what we see in the biography, but it's what's represented. And then progressing on, we get to see his journey over the next 2 years, massively condensed. So we condense it down into a number of key encounters. Uh, so to start with, for first, we would start with Wayne, who was played by Vince Finnegan, who is kind of like one of these business employers that employs Chris with little or no fuss in the film. We don't get an idea of how long he actually stays at Wayne, but he employs him for a considerable amount of time, and he is very encouraging of his kind of rowing spirit and romantic nature, and he doesn't dissuade him from it at all. And Chris is very inspired by Wayne's attitude to life, and he's influenced by it, and that influences his characterization, which is similar to how it's presented in the biography because he remembers him. And we then get to see, towards the end of the film, we get to see his interactions with Ron, which was an Oscar-nominated performance by Hal Holbrook. And this is an elderly man who takes Chris in towards the end of his journey, just before he goes on the magic bus. And that magic, this relationship with Ron, he teaches Ron instead of him teaching. He does learn from Ron. He learns how to craft his own belt. He learns all sorts of skills as opposed to just living and experiencing life with the other people. And he teaches Ron how to enjoy life again after the loss of his family, who died in a car crash, because he's an elderly widow with no children, so he's on his own. And Chris, in both mediums, it must be said, is quite close to Ron, and Ron even offers to adopt him at the end of their relationship, just before he goes off to the magic bus, where he unfortunately and infamously dies. So in my essay, and what I'm saying here as well, is that the process of adaptation presents to us in these two mediums, they're relatively close together, but the timeline is condensed. His sister used as narrator to provide some contextual information about Chris's life, as he walks, as he journeys, as he spends a lot of time on the road, and that is very helpful for understanding his journey. And to end on, I would say that this is a very effective adaptation of Chris's character, and his characterization between the two mediums remains mostly intact. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this original